Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the English Globe. We are so happy to have you here with us today. It's always a pleasure to know that you are spending your valuable time listening to our podcast. We hope that you are doing well and feeling excited to join us for another new and interesting episode. We truly appreciate your support, and we are glad that you are part of our global learning family. Wherever you are right now, thank you for being with us.
Yes, hello everyone, and a very warm welcome from me as well. We are really happy that you are here, and we hope you enjoy today's episode. In this podcast, we are going to talk about a very important and very big topic: USA versus China, competing for the future of the world. This is a topic that affects all of us because these two countries are the most powerful in the world today. They are competing in trade, in technology, in military power, and even in ideas about how the world should be in the future. We will explore these areas together in a simple and clear way so you can improve your English and learn something valuable at the same time.
That's right, Julia. This is a topic that many people are talking about right now, and it is shaping the future of our world. We hope this episode will help you understand what is happening between the USA and China and how this competition is changing the world we all live in. Now, dear listeners, before we begin, we kindly ask you, if you enjoy this podcast, please like the video. Your support means a lot to us, and it helps us bring you more good content. And don't forget to subscribe to the English Globe so you never miss a new episode.
Yes, and we would love it if you could tell us in the comments where you are listening from. Are you listening from Asia, Europe, Africa, the Americas, or somewhere else in the world? We enjoy reading your comments, and it makes us so happy to see that people from so many countries are learning with us. So, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us where you are listening from. And now, let's get started with today's topic.
Let's begin this journey, dear listeners. In the next part of our podcast, we will talk about how China became such a strong and powerful country in the last few decades. It's a fascinating story, and we are sure you will enjoy learning about it. So stay with us, and let's explore this important topic together. All right, dear listeners, now let's begin exploring the story of how China became such a powerful and influential country in the modern world. When we look at China today, it is easy to see a nation with big cities, tall skyscrapers, high-speed trains, and advanced technology. But if we go back just a few decades, China looked very different. It was a country where most people lived in villages, worked on farms, and earned very little money. So, how did this change happen so fast? Let's take a closer look together in this part of our podcast.
That's right, Adam. If we go back to the 1970s, China was a very poor country compared to the United States and other Western nations. The country had gone through wars, political struggles, and many difficult years. People in China worked hard, but the economy was not strong. There were few factories, little international trade, and not much technology. But something big happened at the end of the 1970s. A leader named Deng Xiaoping came to power, and he decided that China needed to change if it wanted to become stronger and richer in the future.
Yes, Deng Xiaoping is a very important figure in modern Chinese history. He understood that if China wanted to improve the lives of its people, it had to open up to the world and start trading with other countries. He also believed that China needed to allow businesses to grow and develop. So, under his leadership, China began to open its economy. It allowed foreign companies to come in and invest. It created special economic zones where businesses could operate with fewer restrictions, and it encouraged Chinese people to start their own companies and try new ideas.
And these changes brought very big results, dear listeners. From the 1980s to today, China's economy has grown faster than almost any other country in history. Millions of people who once lived in poverty were able to find jobs in factories, offices, and new industries. Big cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing became centers of trade, finance, and technology. China started making and exporting everything from clothes and toys to electronics and machinery. As a result, China became known as the factory of the world.
That's a good way to describe it, Julia. And while China was becoming the world's factory, it was also building its strength in other ways. The Chinese government invested heavily in building roads, railways, airports, and ports. It improved education and trained more engineers, scientists, and skilled workers. It focused on science and technology, understanding that the future would belong to countries that lead in these areas. And as China became richer, it began to invest in new industries like renewable energy, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence.
One thing that is interesting for our listeners to know is that China also worked hard to build strong connections with other countries. It traded with almost every nation in the world, and it used the money from trade to invest in projects both at home and abroad. For example, the Belt and Road Initiative is a huge project where China builds roads, railways, and ports in many different countries. The goal of this project is to make it easier for China to trade and to create new friends and partners around the world.
And while all of this was happening, the United States was watching closely. For many years, the USA was happy to see China becoming stronger because it helped the global economy grow. American companies were able to produce goods in China at lower costs, and consumers in the USA could buy cheaper products. But as China became richer and more powerful, people in the USA began to worry. They started asking questions like, will China challenge America's position as the most powerful country in the world? Will China try to set new rules for how the world should work?
These are very big questions, Adam, and they are at the heart of today's competition between the USA and China. China's rise has been very fast, and it has changed the balance of power in the world. Today, China is not just a country that makes things for other countries. It is a country that wants to lead in technology, in business, and in ideas. It is building its military, expanding its influence, and trying to create a future where it plays a bigger role in world affairs. And that is what makes this story so important for all of us.
Yes, dear listeners, and it is important to remember that China's growth has brought many good things, not just for China, but for the world. Hundreds of millions of people in China have been lifted out of poverty. The global economy has grown because of China's trade and investment. New technologies and new products have been created. But at the same time, this rapid rise has also created tensions. The USA and other countries are now trying to figure out how to deal with a China that is stronger, richer, and more confident than ever before.
And that is why we are talking about this today, dear listeners. In this podcast, we want to help you understand how China's rise happened, what it means for the world, and how it has led to competition with the USA. We hope you find this story interesting and helpful for your English learning. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to the English Globe, and tell us in the comments where you are listening from. Your support means so much to us, and we love hearing from you. So thank you for being here, and stay with us as we continue this important conversation.
In the next part of our podcast, we will look at how the USA and China compete in the area of trade and economics. We will explain how the two biggest economies in the world are connected, how they depend on each other, and how they are also rivals. This is a very important part of the story because trade affects people in every country. So please stay with us, dear listeners. We are just getting started on this exciting journey. Let's explore more in the next section together. All right, dear listeners, now let's move on to another very important part of the story, the trade and economic relationship between the United States and China. This relationship is one of the most complex and interesting in the world today, because on one hand, these two countries need each other to keep their economies strong, but on the other hand, they are also competing to be the #1 economic power in the world. So, let's break it down in a simple and clear way so that you can understand this important topic and improve your English at the same time.
Yes, Adam, and I think our listeners will find this part of the story very interesting because it shows how connected our world really is today. When we look at the USA and China, we see two countries that trade huge amounts of goods with each other. the United States buys many things from China, including electronics, clothes, toys, furniture, and so much more. When you look at items in your home, you may find that many of them are made in China because China is the largest exporter in the world.
That's right, Julia. And at the same time, China also buys many things from the USA. These include food products like soybeans and meat, technology like computer chips, airplanes, and machines that are used in factories. This trade relationship has helped both countries grow their economies and create millions of jobs. For many years, this partnership was seen as something positive because it made goods cheaper for people in the United States, and it helped China grow faster and lift millions of people out of poverty.
But dear listeners, over time, this relationship started to create tensions. People in the USA began to feel that they were buying too much from China and selling too little to China. This created something called a trade deficit, which means that the USA was spending much more money on Chinese goods than China was spending on American goods. Many Americans began to worry that this was hurting their economy because factories were closing and jobs were moving to China where workers were paid less.
And this became a big issue in American politics, especially in the last 10 or 15 years. Leaders in the USA started to say that China was not playing fair in trade. They said that China was keeping its currency value low to make its products cheaper. They also said that China was giving support to its own companies in a way that made it hard for American companies to compete. Some American companies also complained that China was taking their technology and using it to create its own strong businesses.
Yes, Adam. And because of these concerns, the United States started to take action. In recent years, the USA has put tariffs, which are special taxes, on many goods from China. The idea was to make Chinese goods more expensive so that American people would buy more products that were made in the USA or in other countries. China answered by putting tariffs on American goods. This situation is what people call a trade war, because both sides are using trade rules and taxes as weapons against each other.
And this trade war has affected not just the USA and China, but also people and businesses all over the world. When goods become more expensive, it can hurt companies that need to buy parts from other countries. It can also make life harder for consumers who have to pay more for everyday products. And in today's world, where countries are so connected through trade, it is difficult for any one country to fight a trade war without causing problems for others as well.
Another important thing for our listeners to understand is that while the USA and China are competing, they are also still connected. Many American companies do business in China, and many Chinese companies sell products in the USA. For example, American tech companies like Apple depend on factories in China to make their phones and computers. At the same time, Chinese companies depend on American technology to make some of their advanced products. So, even though there is competition, there is also a kind of partnership that neither side can easily break.
That's a good point, Julia. And I think this is what makes the USA-China economic relationship so complex. It is not just a simple case of friend or enemy. It is a mix of cooperation and competition at the same time. Both countries know that they need each other in some ways, but they also want to protect their own industries, workers, and future. This is why the economic competition between the USA and China is one of the most important issues in the world today.
Yes, dear listeners. And this competition is not only about trade, it is also about who will lead in the industries of the future. Both the USA and China are investing huge amounts of money in areas like artificial intelligence, green energy, space technology, and advanced manufacturing. The country that becomes number one in these areas will have a big advantage in the future economy. This is why the trade tensions are linked to a bigger struggle over technology and power.
And that is what we will talk about in the next part of our podcast. We will look at how the USA and China are competing in the field of technology. We will explore the race for 5G, artificial intelligence, electric cars, and more. It is a race that will help decide which country shapes the future of the world. So, please stay with us, dear listeners. And before we move on, we kindly remind you to like this video if you are enjoying it. Please subscribe to the English Globe to stay updated on all our new episodes. And don't forget to tell us in the comments where you are listening from. We love hearing from all of you, and your support inspires us to keep going.
Thank you so much, dear listeners, for staying with us so far. We hope you are finding this topic interesting and useful for your English learning. The story of USA-China trade and economic competition is a long and complex one, but we hope we have explained it in a way that is clear and easy to follow. Please stay tuned for the next section, where we will dive into the exciting world of technology and innovation. We look forward to continuing this journey with you.
Welcome back, dear listeners, and thank you so much for staying with us on this important journey. Now that we have explored the trade and economic relationship between the United States and China, it is time to look at another key area where these two countries are competing, and that is technology. In today's world, technology shapes almost every part of our lives, from the phones in our hands to the cars we drive, from the internet we use to the machines in our factories. Technology is at the heart of modern life, and whoever leads in technology will have a great advantage in the future.
That's right, Adam. The competition between the USA and China in technology is one of the most important and exciting parts of this global rivalry. Both countries know that if they want to be strong in the future, they must be leaders in technology. This means leading in areas like artificial intelligence, 5G networks, robotics, space exploration, green energy, and more. These are the industries that will decide what the future looks like, and both the USA and China are investing huge amounts of money, talent, and energy to win this race.
Let's start by talking about artificial intelligence, or AI, which is one of the most powerful and important technologies of our time. AI means creating machines and computer programs that can think, learn, and make decisions like humans. AI is already being used in many areas, like in voice assistants, self-driving cars, medical research, and even in national security. Both the USA and China want to lead in AI, because they know that AI will shape the future of business, science, and military power.
Yes, Adam, and both countries are moving very fast in this area. The United States has some of the biggest and most advanced technology companies in the world, like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, that are working on AI research. The USA also has many of the world's top universities and research centers that are developing new ideas in AI. On the other hand, China has made AI a national priority. The Chinese government has created big plans to become the world leader in AI by the year 2030, and it is spending billions of dollars on research and development.
And this is not the only area where the USA and China are competing, dear listeners. Another important part of the technology race is the battle over 5G networks. 5G is the next generation of mobile internet, and it promises to be much faster and more powerful than today's networks. With 5G, people will be able to download large files in seconds, connect many more devices to the internet, and support new technologies like self-driving cars and smart cities. Both the USA and China understand that the country that controls 5G will have a big advantage in the digital age.
That's true, Adam. And China has made a lot of progress in building 5G technology. The Chinese company Huawei is one of the leaders in 5G equipment, and it has been building networks in many countries around the world. This has caused concern in the USA, because American leaders worry that if China controls too much of the world's 5G networks, it could create security risks. The USA has responded by working with its allies to limit the use of Chinese technology in critical networks, and by investing in its own 5G development.
And this brings us to another important part of the technology race: space exploration. Both the USA and China see space as the next great frontier, and both countries have big plans to explore and use space for science, business, and national security. The USA has long been a leader in space through NASA and private companies like SpaceX, which are working on missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. China has also made great progress, with successful missions to the Moon, the launch of its own space station, and plans for future missions to Mars. Space is not just about science, dear listeners. It is also about technology, national pride, and strategic advantage. The country that leads in space exploration will have the ability to develop new technologies, create new industries, and strengthen its position in the world. This is why both the USA and China are putting so much effort and resources into their space programs. They both want to be seen as the leader in this exciting and important field, and they both want to use space technology to support their economies and security. Another key part of the technology race is the development of green energy and clean technologies. As the world faces the challenge of climate change, the country that can create and use clean energy solutions will not only help protect the planet, but also gain a big economic advantage. Both the USA and China are investing in solar power, wind energy, electric vehicles, and battery technologies. China is currently the largest producer of solar panels and electric cars, while the USA is working on new innovations to improve clean energy technologies.
That's right, Adam. And all of these areas, artificial intelligence, 5G, space, green energy, and more, are connected to the bigger question of who will lead the future of the world. The technology race is not just about making money or building new gadgets. It is about shaping the future of work, communication, transportation, health, and security. It is about deciding what kind of world we will all live in, and both the USA and China want to be the country that sets the rules and leads the way.
So, dear listeners, as you can see, the technology race between the USA and China is one of the most important parts of their competition. It is a race that will affect everyone, no matter where you live. The decisions made in Washington and Beijing will shape the future of technology, the economy, and even daily life for people all around the world. That is why we are talking about it today, and why it is important to understand this part of the story.
Thank you for staying with us, dear listeners. We hope you are finding this topic as interesting as we do, and that you are learning new words and ideas while practicing your English listening. Please remember to like this video if you are enjoying it. Don't forget to subscribe to the English Globe so you never miss a new episode. And please tell us in the comments where you are listening from. We love hearing from you, and your support means so much to us. In the next part of our podcast, we will look at the military competition between the USA and China and how it affects the balance of power in the world. So please stay with us. There is much more to come.
The competition between the United States and China is not only about trade, technology, or ideas. It is also about military power, which plays a key role in shaping how safe the world feels and how countries interact with each other. Both the USA and China understand that having a strong military means having the ability to protect their people, their interests, and their influence in different parts of the world. And this is why both countries are spending huge amounts of money to build powerful armed forces.
The United States has been the world's most powerful military since the end of World War II, and it still has the largest defense budget, the most advanced equipment, and military bases in many countries. American aircraft carriers, fighter jets, submarines, and missile systems are used to protect its allies and to show its strength across the globe. The US military is designed to be able to act anywhere in the world, whether that means defending its homeland or supporting its friends in times of crisis.
China, on the other hand, has focused on building up its military strength over the past few decades, because its leaders believe that a strong military is necessary for protecting the country's borders, supporting its growing global interests, and making sure that other countries respect China's rise. The Chinese military, known as the People's Liberation Army, has modernized very quickly, with new ships, planes, missiles, and technologies that are designed to challenge American power in places like the South China Sea and beyond.
One area where this military competition can be clearly seen is the sea, because both the USA and China understand that control of the seas means control of trade routes, resources, and influence. The US Navy has long been the dominant force in the world's oceans, but China has built hundreds of new ships to strengthen its presence, especially near its own coastline. China has also built artificial islands with military bases on them in the South China Sea, a move that has increased tensions with its neighbors and with the USA.
The air is another important part of this competition, and both countries have invested in powerful air forces that can carry out missions far from home. The United States has advanced stealth fighters, bombers, and drones that are capable of flying across the globe, while China has developed its own new generation of fighter jets and unmanned systems. Both sides are working on technologies that will give them an edge in any possible conflict, such as hypersonic missiles that are very fast and difficult to stop.
Space has also become a key battleground for military power because satellites are used for communication, navigation, and surveillance. And both the USA and China want to make sure that their satellites are safe while having the ability to disable enemy satellites if necessary. The USA created a special military branch called the Space Force to focus on protecting its interests in space, and China has developed anti-satellite weapons and other tools to compete in this new and important domain.
Cyber warfare is another critical part of modern military power, because in today's world, wars are not only fought with tanks and planes, but also with computers. Both the USA and China have cyber forces that are designed to defend their networks and, if needed, attack the networks of their opponents. Cyber attacks could be used to shut down power grids, disrupt communication systems, or steal sensitive information, and this has added a new layer of complexity to the military rivalry between these two nations.
The military competition between the USA and China is not just about weapons and technology. It is also about building partnerships and alliances that can provide support in times of conflict. The USA has long-standing alliances with countries like Japan, South Korea, Australia, and many members of NATO, and these alliances give it a strong presence in many parts of the world. China, meanwhile, has tried to strengthen its ties with countries in Asia, Africa, and beyond through trade, investment, and security agreements.
This military competition creates both risks and opportunities for the world. On the one hand, it can lead to dangerous situations where small incidents could grow into bigger conflicts, especially in places where American and Chinese forces operate close to each other. On the other hand, the knowledge that both sides have powerful militaries can encourage caution and diplomacy, because neither country wants to start a war that would be very costly and dangerous for everyone involved.
Many experts say that the future of this military competition will depend on how well the USA and China can manage their differences through dialogue and cooperation. Both countries have a responsibility to make sure that their actions do not lead to unnecessary conflict, and that they work together on issues like fighting terrorism, stopping the spread of dangerous weapons, and ensuring peace in regions where tensions are high. This is one of the great challenges of our time, and it affects people everywhere.
Military power will continue to play a big role in shaping the future of the world, but it is not the only thing that matters. In the next part of our podcast, we will look at how the USA and China are competing for influence in global politics, and how they try to win friends and shape international organizations. This is another important part of their rivalry, because the country that has more friends and partners will have a stronger position in shaping the future of our planet.
In this part of our podcast, we will talk about how the United States and China are competing for influence around the world. This competition is not only about trade, technology, or military power. It is also about ideas, culture, and values. Both countries want to win friends, build partnerships, and shape the way people in other nations think about the future. This is what many experts call the battle for hearts and minds, and it is one of the most important parts of the USA-China rivalry today. The United States has long used its culture, ideas, and partnerships to build influence across the globe. People in many countries watch American movies, listen to American music, and admire American technology and fashion. The USA also promotes ideas about democracy, human rights, freedom of speech, and the rule of law. Through international organizations, foreign aid, and education programs, the USA tries to show that it is a reliable friend and a country that cares about the well-being of people everywhere.
China is working hard to build its own influence in the world by offering an alternative to the American model. China says that every country should be free to choose its own path without interference. It focuses on building strong economic relationships, offering loans, investments, and development projects, especially in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Through programs like the Belt and Road Initiative, China is building roads, railways, ports, and power plants that help connect countries to its growing economy.
One of the main tools the USA uses to build influence is through its network of alliances and partnerships. The USA works closely with countries in Europe, Asia, and beyond, and it often supports international groups like the United Nations, NATO, and the World Bank. These partnerships help the USA promote its vision of a world where countries work together to solve big problems like poverty, climate change, and conflict. The USA also provides humanitarian aid during crises, such as natural disasters or wars, to show that it stands with people in need.
China, in its own way, has created new friendships by focusing on economic development and respect for national sovereignty. Many countries appreciate China's policy of not interfering in their internal affairs. They see China as a partner that helps build infrastructure, create jobs, and offer trade opportunities without demanding political changes. This has made China popular in many parts of the developing world, where leaders are looking for support to build stronger economies and improve people's lives.
Both the USA and China also use education and media to share their ideas and build goodwill. The USA invites students from all over the world to study at its universities, and American cultural centers provide English classes, leadership training, and cultural exchanges. China has set up Confucius Institutes to teach Chinese language and culture, and it offers scholarships for students to study in Chinese universities. Both countries use television, movies, social media, and news outlets to share their views and tell their stories to the world.
This competition for global influence is about more than just winning friends. It is also about shaping the future of international rules and norms. The USA wants to protect the system of alliances and institutions that it helped build after World War II, which is based on rules, cooperation, and shared values. China, on the other hand, wants to make sure that this system gives more voice and respect to developing countries, and it seeks to change some of the rules so that they better reflect today's world.
The competition between the USA and China for influence has created both opportunities and challenges for other countries. Some nations try to work with both powers, hoping to gain the benefits of partnership without choosing sides. Others feel pressure to pick a side, especially when the USA and China have different views on major issues like security, trade, or human rights. This situation has made international politics more complex because decisions that were once simple have now become part of a bigger global rivalry.
One interesting example of this competition is in Africa, where both the USA and China are active in helping countries grow and develop. The USA focuses on supporting democracy, healthcare, education, and human rights, while China focuses on building roads, bridges, factories, and other infrastructure. Both approaches have strengths and weaknesses, and people in African countries have their own views about which partner provides the most benefit and the most respect for local needs and wishes.
In Latin America, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, we see similar patterns of competition. The USA offers security partnerships, trade deals, and support for democratic institutions. China offers investment, loans, and trade connections, often without attaching conditions related to politics or human rights. The choices that countries make in dealing with these two powers will help shape what the future international system looks like. And this is why the battle for hearts and minds is so important in today's world.
Culture and values play a big part in this competition. American pop culture is popular in many places, but some people see it as a symbol of Western influence that they want to resist. Chinese culture is gaining interest too, but some people worry about China's political system and its approach to free speech and human rights. This means that both the USA and China must work hard to show the world that their vision for the future is positive, fair, and respectful of the needs and hopes of other nations.
The future of this competition will depend on many things, including how both countries behave on the world stage, how they treat their partners, and how well they listen to the concerns of other nations. Both the USA and China have a chance to show leadership by working together on global challenges like climate change, health crises, and poverty. The world will be watching to see whether these two powers can find ways to cooperate while still competing, or whether their rivalry will make it harder to solve the big problems we all face.
In the next part of our podcast, we will look at how this competition between the USA and China affects international organizations like the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, and others. These groups are where countries come together to make decisions that affect the entire world, and both the USA and China want to make sure that their voices are heard and that their interests are protected. So please stay with us as we continue this important journey together.
Thank you for listening, dear friends. If you are enjoying this podcast and learning from it, please like the video to support our work. Don't forget to subscribe to the English Globe so you never miss a new episode. And please let us know in the comments where you are listening from. It means so much to us to hear from you. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you more episodes like this one. Now, let's continue to explore this big and fascinating topic in the next part.
As we continue to explore the global competition between the United States and China, it's important to look at how this rivalry plays out inside international organizations. These organizations include groups like the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and many others. They exist to help countries work together on issues that affect everyone, such as trade, security, health, and climate change. Both the USA and China understand that having influence in these organizations gives them the ability to shape decisions that impact the entire world.
The United States has played a leading role in building many of these international organizations since the end of World War II. American leaders believed that creating a system of rules and institutions would help bring peace, stability, and prosperity to the world. Over the decades, the USA has provided funding, leadership, and ideas to support these organizations. It has used them to promote values like democracy, free markets, human rights, and cooperation between nations.
China joined many of these international organizations later, as its economy grew and its role in global affairs became larger. Chinese leaders see these organizations as important platforms for sharing their views, protecting their interests, and building partnerships. China believes that international organizations should reflect the changes in global power, where developing countries like China have a bigger voice. As a result, China has worked hard to gain leadership positions, increase its influence, and propose new ideas in these groups.
In the United Nations, for example, China has become much more active in recent years. It contributes more money to peacekeeping operations, provides troops for UN missions, and takes part in discussions on big global issues. China uses its position as a permanent member of the UN Security Council to shape decisions on conflicts, sanctions, and peace efforts. The United States, as another permanent member, often has different views from China, and this can lead to disagreements on how the UN should act in times of crisis.
In the World Trade Organization, the USA and China have also had sharp differences. The WTO is supposed to make sure that trade is fair and open between countries, but the USA has accused China of breaking trade rules by supporting its own companies too much, stealing technology, and limiting access to its markets. China argues that it is following the rules and that the USA is trying to stop China's development. These disputes have made it harder for the WTO to function smoothly and have led to calls for reform of the organization.
Another important area is the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which help countries that need loans, advice, and development assistance. The USA has traditionally had a lot of influence in these organizations because it provides a large share of the funding. China, on the other hand, has created new institutions like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the New Development Bank, which offer alternatives to the World Bank and IMF. These new banks give developing countries more choices when they look for financial support.
The competition between the USA and China in international organizations is not only about who holds the top positions or who gives the most money. It is also about whose ideas and values will guide the future of these groups. The USA wants these organizations to continue promoting rules, transparency, free markets, and political freedoms. China wants them to respect national sovereignty, focus on development, and avoid interfering in a country's internal politics. These different visions make it harder to find agreement on many issues.
This struggle for leadership affects how the world responds to global challenges. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, international organizations tried to coordinate the response, share information, and provide support to countries in need. But differences between the USA and China sometimes made it harder to work together, especially when the two countries blamed each other or disagreed on how to handle the crisis. This showed how rivalry at the top can slow down global cooperation when it is needed most.
Climate change is another area where international organizations are trying to bring countries together. Both the USA and China play key roles because they are the largest economies and the biggest producers of carbon emissions. Both countries have made promises to reduce emissions, invest in clean energy, and support climate action. But at the same time, they compete over whose technologies, ideas, and leadership will guide the future of the green economy. This competition shapes the work of international climate groups.
The future of international organizations will depend on whether the USA and China can find ways to cooperate while still competing. Both countries have the power to strengthen or weaken these institutions, depending on how they act. If they choose cooperation, they can help solve big problems like poverty, disease, and environmental destruction. If they choose confrontation, it could divide the world into different camps, make global action harder, and increase tensions between nations.
It's important for people everywhere to understand how this struggle for leadership affects their lives. The decisions made in places like the United Nations or the World Trade Organization influence trade, security, health, and human rights in every country. That is why the USA-China competition in these organizations is about more than just power. It is about the kind of world we will all live in during the years ahead. This is why it matters so much and why it is worth paying attention to.
In our next part, we will explore how this competition between the USA and China affects the economy of the world, including what it means for prices, jobs, and opportunities in other countries. This is an area where people feel the effects of global rivalry in their everyday lives, and we look forward to helping you understand it clearly. Let's continue this journey together as we explore these important issues in simple and friendly English.
The competition between the United States and China does not happen in isolation. In fact, it reaches deep into the economies of almost every country in the world. This rivalry shapes trade routes, job markets, prices for everyday goods, and the choices that businesses and governments make about the future. When the USA and China compete, the effects are felt far beyond their borders, and understanding these effects can help people everywhere see how global politics connects to their daily lives.
One of the biggest ways that this rivalry affects the world economy is through trade. Both the USA and China are major players in global trade, and many countries depend on them as customers, suppliers, or investors. When tensions between the two powers rise, it often leads to new tariffs, export restrictions, or changes in supply chains. These actions can raise the cost of goods, make it harder for businesses to plan for the future, and create uncertainty that slows down economic growth in many parts of the world.
The trade war that began between the USA and China a few years ago is a clear example of this. As both countries raised tariffs on each other's goods, the prices of many products increased. Consumers in the United States found themselves paying more for electronics, furniture, clothes, and other items that were imported from China. Chinese companies that exported goods to the USA saw their sales decline. At the same time, farmers and manufacturers in both countries faced difficulties as demand for their products fell.
These trade tensions also forced companies around the world to rethink their supply chains. For many years, businesses enjoyed the benefits of globalization, building complex supply networks that stretched across countries and continents to keep costs low and production efficient. But the USA-China rivalry showed how fragile these systems can be when politics interferes. As a result, many companies started to move some of their production to other countries or bring it back home to reduce risks.
The competition between the USA and China also affects investment flows across the globe. Both countries are major sources of investment capital, and both seek to use this capital to build influence and create new opportunities. When the USA and China are at odds, it can lead to greater restrictions on where companies can invest, tighter controls on technology sharing, and more careful review of deals between firms. This can slow down innovation and limit the growth of new industries, especially in developing economies.
Currency markets are another area where the USA-China rivalry plays a role. Both countries manage large financial systems that interact with the global economy. When tensions rise, it can affect the value of their currencies, which in turn influences trade balances, inflation, and the cost of borrowing money. Countries that trade heavily with the USA or China, or that hold large amounts of dollars or yuan, may find themselves caught in the middle of this financial tug-of-war.
The rivalry also has major effects on industries of the future, such as green energy, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and biotechnology. As the USA and China race to lead these sectors, they each try to set global standards, win new markets, and protect their innovations. This competition drives progress and creates new jobs, but it can also create divides in the global economy. Countries may be pushed to choose between different technologies, systems, or rules, making international cooperation harder.
Many smaller and developing countries face difficult choices because of this rivalry. On one hand, they want to benefit from trade, investment, and technology from both the USA and China. On the other hand, they do not want to be caught in the middle of a conflict or forced to take sides. Some countries try to stay neutral and balance their relationships with both powers. Others feel pressure to align more closely with one side to gain security, economic benefits, or political support.
For ordinary people, the USA-China competition can seem far away, but its effects are felt in many ways. It can influence the price of food, fuel, electronics, and clothes. It can affect job opportunities, as industries rise or fall depending on where factories are built and where goods are sold. It can even shape the future of education and careers, as young people decide what skills to learn based on which technologies and industries are growing because of this global rivalry.
Despite these challenges, the USA-China competition has also brought some positive changes. The race to lead in areas like clean energy, digital technology, and advanced manufacturing has driven innovation and opened new possibilities. Many countries are now investing more in education, research, and development to keep up with these changes. This can help create better jobs, stronger economies, and a more dynamic global market that benefits people everywhere.
What happens next in this competition will depend on many factors, including how both countries choose to manage their differences, how businesses and governments adapt to the changes, and how the rest of the world responds. If the USA and China can find ways to compete responsibly while still cooperating on shared challenges, the global economy could become stronger and more resilient. But if tensions continue to rise, it could lead to more disruption, higher costs, and greater uncertainty for everyone.
In our next part, we will explore how this rivalry could shape the future of innovation and science, and what it might mean for the technologies we use in our everyday lives. We will look at how the USA and China are investing in research, how they are trying to win the race for new discoveries, and how their competition could change the world in ways that affect all of us. Let's continue this journey together as we try to understand the future that is being built today.
One of the most exciting parts of the competition between the United States and China is the race to lead the future of innovation. Both countries understand that whoever leads in science, technology, and new ideas will have a major advantage in shaping the future of the world. Innovation is not just about creating new products, it is about solving big problems, improving lives, and finding better ways to do things that can help people everywhere.
The United States has long been seen as a global leader in innovation. Many of the world's most important inventions and discoveries have come from American scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs. The USA is home to world-famous universities, technology companies, and research centers that attract talent from across the globe. From the internet to smartphones, from life-saving medicines to space exploration, American innovation has played a big role in shaping the modern world we live in today.
China, too, is becoming a major force in global innovation. Over the past few decades, China has invested huge amounts of money in research and development. It has built modern laboratories, funded high-tech companies, and trained millions of scientists and engineers. China is now a leader in areas like artificial intelligence, 5G technology, electric vehicles, and renewable energy. Chinese companies and researchers are working hard to create new technologies that can compete with or even surpass those from the United States.
Both countries are focusing on key areas that will define the future. One of these areas is artificial intelligence, or AI, where computers and machines learn to think, plan, and make decisions. AI is already being used in healthcare, transportation, finance, and national security. And both the USA and China are trying to become the world leader in this field. Whoever wins this race will have the power to shape industries, economies, and even daily life in new and important ways.
Another key area is green technology, as the world looks for solutions to climate change and environmental problems. The USA and China are both investing in clean energy, electric cars, advanced batteries, and technologies that can reduce pollution. This race is not only about protecting the planet, it is also about creating new jobs, building stronger economies, and gaining influence in a world that increasingly cares about sustainability and environmental responsibility.
Space exploration is yet another field where innovation plays a big role in the USA-China competition. The United States, with NASA and private companies like SpaceX, has ambitious plans to return to the Moon, go to Mars, and build new technologies for space travel. China has made great progress too, with missions to the Moon, Mars, and its own space station. Both countries see space as a place for science, business, and national pride, and they are pushing the boundaries of what is possible in human exploration.
The competition also extends to biotechnology, where science and technology are used to improve health, food, and the environment. The USA and China are both working on cutting-edge research in genetics, medicine, and agriculture. New discoveries in these areas could help cure diseases, produce more food, and create healthier lives for people everywhere. But they also raise important questions about ethics, safety, and fairness that both countries will need to address as they move forward.
What makes this innovation race so important is that it is not just about who invents the next big thing. It is also about setting the standards, rules, and values that will guide how new technologies are used. The USA and China have different views about privacy, security, freedom, and responsibility. Their competition will help decide how technologies like AI, big data, and genetic engineering will be developed, shared, and controlled in the future. This will affect people all around the world.
One interesting part of this competition is how both countries try to attract talent and ideas from other nations. The USA has long welcomed students, scientists, and entrepreneurs from across the globe, offering opportunities to learn, work, and create. China is now doing the same, offering scholarships, building partnerships, and inviting experts to take part in its innovation programs. This global search for knowledge shows that in the end, innovation is not just a national project, it is something that connects people everywhere.
The future of innovation will depend on how well the USA and China can balance competition with cooperation. Both countries have much to gain by working together on big challenges like climate change, health crises, and food security. At the same time, their rivalry pushes them to work harder, think bigger, and aim higher. This can lead to great progress, but it can also create risks if competition leads to mistrust or conflict. The choices made in the years ahead will shape the world we live in for generations.
In the next part of our podcast, we will look at what the future might hold for the USA-China competition overall. We will explore different possible paths. Will this rivalry lead to conflict, or can it be managed in ways that bring peace, progress, and shared success? These are some of the biggest questions facing the world today, and we will try to answer them together in simple, clear English, so that all of you can follow along and learn more about this important topic. As we come to the final part of our podcast on the USA-China competition, it is time to look ahead and think about what the future might hold. Will the rivalry between these two great powers lead to greater cooperation, where both countries work together for the good of the world? Or will it lead to more tension, more division, and even the risk of conflict? The choices that leaders, businesses, and people make in the coming years will shape the path we take, and it is important to understand the possibilities before us.
One possible path is one of peaceful competition. In this future, the USA and China continue to compete in areas like technology, trade, and global influence, but they do so in a way that respects international rules and avoids dangerous confrontations. Both countries recognize that they have much to gain by working together on shared challenges such as climate change, global health, and poverty. In this future, rivalry pushes both nations to do better, but cooperation ensures that progress benefits people everywhere.
Another possible path is one where tensions rise and divisions deepen. In this future, the USA and China find it harder and harder to work together. Disagreements over trade, technology, military issues, or values lead to greater mistrust and less communication. The world could become divided into different camps, with some countries siding with the USA and others with China. This would make it more difficult to solve global problems and could increase the risk of misunderstandings that might lead to conflict.
There is also the risk of accidental conflict, where neither side wants war, but small incidents or mistakes create a crisis. For example, military forces operating close to each other in the South China Sea or near Taiwan could accidentally clash, leading to an emergency that is hard to control. In today's world, where decisions happen quickly and tensions can rise fast, Managing these risks is one of the greatest challenges facing both countries and the world.
A more hopeful path is one where the USA and China find new ways to cooperate, even while competing in some areas. In this future, both countries see that their people's well-being and the future of the planet depend on working together on big issues. They build stronger systems for dialogue, improve trust, and focus on common goals like clean energy, health, education, and security. This would help create a more stable and peaceful world where competition drives progress but does not lead to danger.
The future will also depend on how other countries respond to this great power rivalry. Many nations do not want to be forced to choose between the USA and China. They prefer to work with both sides and focus on their own development. These countries can play an important role in encouraging peaceful solutions, building bridges between the two powers, and reminding everyone that the biggest challenges we face, like climate change, pandemics, and poverty, require cooperation, not conflict.
Technology will play a key role in shaping the future of this competition. The USA and China are racing to lead in areas like artificial intelligence, clean energy, space exploration, and biotechnology. The way they use these technologies and the rules they set for their use will affect not just their own people, but the entire world. This is why it is so important for both countries to think carefully about how innovation is used, shared, and controlled, and to work with others to set fair and safe standards.
People everywhere can help shape this future too. By learning about these issues, asking questions, and staying informed, citizens can encourage their leaders to choose paths that promote peace, fairness, and cooperation. The USA-China competition is not just a story about governments and leaders. It is a story that affects workers, students, families, and communities around the world. Everyone has a role to play in building a future that is safe, just, and full of opportunity.
In the end, the future of this rivalry is not set in stone. It will be shaped by the decisions that people make today and tomorrow. Both the USA and China have the power to choose whether their competition will be a force for good or a source of division and danger. The world will be watching, hoping that both countries can rise to the challenge and find a way to lead with wisdom, respect, and a sense of shared responsibility for the future of our planet.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most important topics in today's world. We hope this podcast has helped you understand the USA-China competition more clearly and has helped you practice your English at the same time. We look forward to bringing you more episodes on global issues, history, and ideas that matter. Until next time, we wish you peace, progress, and a better future for all.